Hello friends, it's Marissa, and today I'm going to share a nice hip opening sequence. So we're going to do some postures that help to relieve any tension that you may be holding in your hips or your lower back. Most of this practice is going to be done seated, so all you need is your mat, and we'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to start today's sequence in a child's pose. So your choice, I like to take the big toes together, legs wide, and then just coming down onto the mat, making sure to leave lots of room in between the fingertips, pressing them down into the earth, and then bringing the forehead down into the mat, and just rolling your head back and forth, giving your forehead a nice massage as you release into this child's pose. And remembering through this practice today that our breath helps to get us deeper into the postures. And so as you're moving through, remember to take some nice deep breaths, and then that will naturally allow your body to give a little bit. Sending the hips further back towards the back of the room, maybe even being able to sit back onto the heels here. And then looking forward in between the fingers. And what we're going to do here is we're going to walk our hands from one side to the other. So if you want to come up just a little bit, if that makes you more comfortable, and sending that back body back, or if you want to stay with your elbows down, whatever feels more comfortable to you. Just coming over to the right hand side, and maybe even trying to get as far as that knee so that your right arm aligns with your right knee. And taking a nice deep breath here. And looking forward, and then walking back to the center. We'll meet in the center just for a moment before we head over into the left-hand side. When you're ready, guide yourself over to the left-hand side. Remembering that you can have the elbows down, or you can lift up over the elbows, holding yourself up higher, whatever feels good. Remember, this is your practice. All right, coming back to center. Very nice. So we're just gonna sway here for just a moment to explore those hips, get a little bit of fluidity here. And we're going to go ahead and come into an easy seated position. So whatever's comfortable for you, right over left, left over right, doesn't matter. And we're just going to sit here for a moment, sit up tall, releasing the shoulder blades back and down, finding some room in between the vertebrae, taking a nice deep breath in through the nose, and then opening the mouth and sighing it out. Lifting the hands overhead, interlace the fingertips high and press towards the sky. Take a nice deep inhalation in, and then drop the right arm down, and then coming over onto one side. So releasing onto the same side that your hand is guided down towards the mat. And remembering to try to keep both sits bones down. So the key here in this movement is that you don't want to lift up one side. You're going to be able to get that nice deep stretch in the side body and even into the hips if you keep pressing down onto both sits bones. When you're ready, coming back to the center and lifting up, reaching up high, interlace the fingertips, and we're going to come over to the other side here. So maybe the left side or the right if you went over to the left side first. Guiding that opposite sits bone down. You have to kind of tell it to sit down as it naturally will lift. Inhale, coming back to center. From here, we're going to just do a couple circles with the body. So we're going to open up and we're going to just do big circles. So coming around, you can come to the left, you can come to the right. We'll hit both sides, so it doesn't matter. Making sure you scoop the abs as we come back and pressing forward, keeping those sit bones down into the earth here. Finding this fluidity. Maybe exploring as you're moving through this movement and feeling where you have some tension. So maybe there's a certain spot that you feel a little bit more tight, and maybe just staying there for a moment to just release that. Very good. Okay, so coming back to center, coming to the opposite side. Inhale, rocking through. Hollowing out that belly, engaging the core through this movement. And sitting up tall whenever you're ready, releasing the shoulder blades back and down. And from here, we're going to come into a fire log. So if you have your left foot in front, as I do, you're going to take the opposite foot and lift it over, vice versa. So whichever foot you had in the back, you're going to put that right over on top. Maybe you need to guide your other foot to just, what you want here is really for your feet to be, for the bottom of your legs to just kind of be in line rather than in easy seated position where they're crisscrossed. We want them more parallel to each other in fire log pose. So this might feel a little bit more engaged than an easy seated position here. So just taking a deep breath here and then coming to a forward fold, just kind of walking those fingertips out. And as you walk them out, remembering to keep the back body down and onto the mat, but just doing whatever feels good here. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can see me better. And just coming to that place where you begin to feel that pull just enough. So it's a nice stretch. Don't push too hard. But you'll know when you get there, it just feels really yummy. And you just want to hold there once you get there. Taking a nice deep breath here. Then walking those fingertips back up, and we're going to switch the legs so that you have the opposite one on top this time. Sitting up tall, this might give you a different sensation. You might feel it a little bit differently than you did on the opposite side. That's great. Just coming to that sweet place. Remembering to breathe. Okay, walking those fingertips back. From here, we're going to come into a bit of a twist. So we're going to put one of our legs behind us, the other one on top of our opposite thigh here. If this is uncomfortable for you, then you can go ahead and release it down onto the mat, whatever feels comfortable here. If you're able, go ahead and almost like a half lotus with the back leg towards the back of the room. We're gonna sit up tall and we're going to twist towards that knee that's risen. So go ahead and just place the opposite hand onto the knee and then begin your gaze to the back of the room or the back of the mat. Almost looking over that shoulder if you can. And if it feels good to get a little bit deeper here, if you really want to press open that hip into this twist, you can guide that knee down. So by putting it up onto the thigh, you're making some space here so that you have the ability to press down and really open up right here and into the hips. Okay, go ahead and release. Shake those legs out. Just give them a nice little shake. Put the opposite leg back and then take that, for me it's my right leg, so the opposite leg up and onto that thigh. Sit up tall. And then bring that opposite hand to the opposite knee and then begin to look over that shoulder, breathing. Maybe pressing that knee down to wherever you feel good. Nice. All right, shaking it out. From here, we're going to come into a camel pose. So coming up onto the knees, we want to keep our hips width distance apart here. And we want to keep the feet, the soles of the feet up. And so we're going to here engage our core as we begin melting back towards those feet. And the goal is to grab a hold of those ankles if you're able. If you can't, then just go ahead and place them right onto the back, into the almost the small of our back here. And if you make a little triangle with your hands, creates the support that's needed to really just get the great deep stretch here. This is a great stretch for the back body, but it does also open up the hips. And it's preparing us for a frog pose, which we'll go into next. Okay, engaging that core as we come back up again. And we're going to flip the big toes over, so flex the feet. And we're going to come into a frog pose here. And so this is a posture that can feel a little bit uncomfortable when you first get into it, but it's one of those that feels really, really good once you're there. So we're going to take the knees very, very wide here, as wide as they can go. And you're gonna keep your feet flexed, so you don't want to have them dropped down onto the mat. You're gonna kind of hold yourself propped up onto the feet. And then just really, I mean, this in itself is a hip opener right here, but we can actually go just a little bit deeper by bringing our hands down to the mat. And then coming into that frog. So I'll come to the side so that you can see here. And then exploring what it feels like to just rock back and forth here. Okay, now that we're warm in our frog, we'll go ahead and release those feet. So then go ahead and just release them down into the mat. And now just kind of rocking into this pose and then coming down. So we're really opening up those hips here. And come to wherever it feels good. So if this is not comfortable, then back off a little bit. Bring those arms up. Maybe even come up a little bit further. So this is really about where you are. All of these movements are just here to help you feel better, open up your hips. So whatever feels good. Okay, so carefully from here, come out of this position. So we're going to use our arm strength to kind of lift us back up again. You might feel it a little bit in your hips here. They're definitely warm. From here, we're going to come into a goddess. So go ahead and just planting the feet down into the earth here. Maybe just rocking back and forth and kind of getting your what's about you. Bringing the hands into a prayer posture. And then just sinking down. So allowing the body to find space here in your goddess. And when you're ready, maybe even taking those forearms and pressing them into the inner legs to find a little bit more space. Allow your body to give yourself the space that you need. So pressing, the farther that you press, you'll feel it a little bit more. Breathing deeply here. Great, from here we're going to take the right arm and we're going to press it down into the mat, and we're going to open up onto that opposite side. So go ahead and lift that opposite arm up towards the sky, and then pressing that right hand down into the mat, opening up the inner leg and pressing it a little bit here. And we're going to come into the opposite side, so pressing the left hand into the mat here, opening up, lifting that right arm high towards the sky, looking up, gazing up towards the sky, towards the fingertips, pressing that hip open here. All right, coming back into our goddess. Our hands at the heart center. Very nice. All right, coming out of our goddess position, we're going to come onto a seated position. We're going to come into a reclined pigeon, or actually a seated pigeon first. So now that our hips are quite open, you're going to actually feel a really, really nice deep stretch. You should be able to give yourself a great pigeon here. So taking the right leg first, lifting it, bringing it over to that other thigh, and then pressing that knee down, using the opposite leg or the opposite arm behind you to just kind of hold yourself up, and just pressing here. This is a modified version of pigeon. Okay, go ahead and just release that right leg. Go ahead and sit back up again. Bring the opposite leg, the left leg, onto the opposite thigh here. Press that knee down. Bring that opposite knee closer into the body. So in this posture, the closer that you bring the leg that's planted into the mat towards the body, the closer it inches towards, the deeper the stretch you're going to get in that side of the hip. So go where your body feels you're getting the best stretch, and then just stay there, releasing there. Okay, from here we're going to go ahead and come into a reclined pigeon. So coming all the way back down, taking that right leg, the opposite one that you just had, and then just hugging it in towards the chest here. And just feeling that sensation here. All right, from here we're going to go ahead and hold on to that right leg, bringing that opposite leg up, propping it up onto the mat, and then holding onto the back of the opposite thigh. So you almost want to just bring your legs in close to you with one of them into that pigeon pose. And just let the legs hang. You don't need to have any flex or point in the foot. Just release any tension here. And as you bring your left thigh closer to the chest and to the body, you'll feel more of a deep stretch here. Enjoying this movement. Maybe paying attention to the blood that's flowing through the legs and the hips. And then coming out of that pigeon, just bringing the legs down long for a moment. Kind of neutralizing them for just a moment. And then we're going to bring that opposite leg up. Hugging it in towards the body here. Give it a nice stretch before we bring it into the pigeon. Planting that right foot down and then guiding that opposite foot over onto the thigh. When you're ready, bringing your fingertips behind that thigh and then pulling it in towards the body. Pigeon is just my favorite hip opener. All the variations of it. All right, go ahead and whenever you're ready to release. From here, we're going to do a little bit of an eagle arm and leg twist. So bringing the right hand over the left, and then holding on to those hands in a prayer half prayer if you can, and then doing so with the leg. So right over left. If you've got the right arm over the left arm, go ahead and replicate that with your legs. And then we're going to guide our body over into a twist to the opposite side. So if you've got the right leg over, go ahead and head over to the left-hand side. Just breathing here for a moment. Coming back to center, switching out both of the arms and the legs here, so left over right if you were the opposite. And then coming over into that twist. Taking a nice deep breath here. Then coming back, releasing the arms, releasing the legs. From here, we're going to come into a happy baby. So grabbing a hold of the soles of the feet, hands on the outside of the foot. And then here we're just going to open up those legs, keeping the lower body planted into the mat. Maybe you have to shift your weight just a little bit. And just finding a relaxed place here. Maybe you're giving your toes a little massage. From here we're going to come into our Savasana. And so in this Savasana, we're going to complete with our hip opener. So we're going to go ahead and put the soles of the feet together. Resting the back all the way down. Supta Baddha Konasana. Palms lifted up to the sky to receive positive energy. Letting those knees just melt down closer and closer towards the earth. And just letting the weight of your body melt into the mat. Relaxing the whole body. So maybe bringing awareness to the face and just relaxing the muscles in the face. Bringing awareness to the whole body. And allowing the breath to just become shallow and natural. Giving your body thanks and gratitude. Hopefully your hips feel nice and open. Giving them some love. Thank you guys for coming today to practice with me, to open up those hips and relax the lower back. We'll end our practice. Namaste.